Welcome to the Circle Sessions featuring the Circle of Experts. Each week, one of the Circle of Experts joins me to talk about some critical aspects of growing your podcast. We focus on marketing, social media, monetization, and website design to help you implement all of these together. The Circle of Experts are Yasmin Robles from Robles Designs, Tonnisha English Amamu of TJE Communications, and Don the Idea Guy. I'm Brett Johnson from Circle 270 Media Podcast Consultants. This week, Tonnisha is here from the Circle of Experts. Tonnisha is on a mission to help small businesses level the playing field through digital marketing solutions. Tonnisha, thanks for joining me again today.
Yes, thanks for having me. I want to give you guys a heads up. You can hear the banging in the background. Got the little one right at my feet today.
It's
So
not the
bear
neighborhood
warning.
band. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Oh gosh, Instagram is really starting, to be a part of our lives. It's now a go-to for a lot of different things. I haven't been on for my business that much, but I'm thinking in 2025 I probably will jump into it. I just have to do some strategy pieces to it in my head about what I want to do. So the topic for this episode is really interesting about metrics that we should
Yeah.
care about, and let's get into this because you just recently found a really good article about talking about some metrics,
Mhm.
and we want to highlight some stuff.
Yeah. And I know that Instagram can be frustrating and intimidating for a lot of people. The way that the whole landscape of the platform works can be confusing. Sometimes they say post more reels, post more stories. Like nobody really knows what they should be doing anymore on the platform. But these 12 metrics were called out by Sprout Social. And there are three of them that I think are super important, and that we all should be doing or thinking about throughout, our time on Instagram. And the first one is reach. So reach is a metric that measures how many people are seeing your content. So this is different from impressions, where impressions focus on the amount of times your content has been seen. I look at impressions as like a vanity metric because it can be like a huge number. It looks really good to put into a report to say that we had like, 1 million impressions. But out of those million, how many individual people or individual accounts actually saw the content? And so to give you an example, you can have 100 impressions, but reach 10 people. So that means between those 10 people, some way, somehow, your content was viewed 100 times. Not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing and that we shouldn't care about that, but I do think that if we're looking to grow our platforms, which will essentially help us grow our subscribers to our podcast and supporters of the work that we're doing, that we have to think about reaching more people. And so that is definitely the number one metric that I would call out for everybody just be thinking about as you are planning your 2025, social media strategies, especially for Instagram.
Right? I think podcasters can liken that to downloads. Once you said the
Yeah.
vanity number,
Mhm.
downloads are vanity number. But if you
Mhm.
dig into your dashboard and you look at statistics about downloads and unique downloads, and that
Mhm.
the same thing, that it's the unique downloads, like that's your true number. It's just
Yeah.
the downloads will be a little bit more or could be equal to,
Right.
because you had someone maybe downloaded a couple of times. They re-listened to
Mhm.
it in some fashion. It came down through an IP address a couple of times. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah.
So same thing. The reach versus the great impression number is that
Mhm.
download versus unique download. So I think if we liken it to that, that's an easy grasp. Going, oh, that makes sense in the
Yeah.
podcasters world. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I wholeheartedly agree.
Mhm.
Something you won't hear me talk about today, if you're anticipating it, is followers. But I will talk about engagements per follower. So that's number two. So engagement per followers tells you that um, it measures the amount of engagement with your content relative to your follower count. And there's like a whole equation to figure that out. So basically, you take the total number of engagements that you have, divide that by your follower count, and then multiply that by 100. And that gives you your engagement rate. And a good engagement rate on Instagram is generally between 1 and 3%. So not a huge number for it to be considered, healthy. And so when we're thinking about engagement rate, sometimes we can be creating content that doesn't necessarily require our followers to engage. So even understanding this number can help you to think about creating different types of content that would require people to comment, that would require people to send it to somebody or add it to their story. Like, what call to actions can you give people to help increase that engagement on a post? I see a lot of people do, drop a heart if you agree, or drop a 100 sign and I'll DM you, something. Things like that help to increase your engagements per followers.
I was just going to ask if that the term engagement, how difficult is that in regards to what do they look at as the definition of engagement? And it could be
Yeah, so
just as simple
engagement
as that
is
then. Okay.
it's
Yeah.
a like, it's a comment, it's somebody, sharing your post or even saving it. All of those things are considered engagement. So if you're able to get people to do something, because I mean, we're all guilty of just like the doom scroll, right? Like
Oh,
we're
yeah.
scrolling, we're looking at things. We might like something, but like I've had times where I'm too lazy, like the way I'm laying and holding my phone for me to like this post would require like a repositioning, and I just don't want to do that. So, and I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So what
No.
can we create content that requires people to want to engage in some way, shape, or form? And of course, it's easier said than done. Myself as a marketer, it's something that I struggle with too, trying to get people to engage in content, but then also thinking about what content would require someone to engage.
It's
And so,
stopping that doom scroll, first of all.
exactly,
And
what's going to
then
stop the doom scroll, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. No, no, that'd be the next step that you can actually talk into your phone and tell the phone what to do on that Instagram post. That'll
Yes,
be
like
the ultimate.
this post,
Exactly.
right?
To your point of like, oh, wait a minute. I just am not going to move my arm.
Right. I think
Exactly.
she agrees with
I
that.
think so. I think so. Exactly. Yeah. No. But
So the third metric I would say to consider is people saving your content. And so so when you save posts on Instagram, I actually have a folder that's titled Cooking for My Husband. And I actually created this before I had a husband, manifesting it, right? Thinking
uh,
of seeing all these cool recipes. And it's
gotcha.
like, I would do that, but I'm not gonna do that for just me, and I know my kids aren't gonna eat that. So it was literally a folder that I started where I save recipes. And so oftentimes when I'm trying to think about my grocery list and what I'm going to cook for dinner, I'll go back to that folder and just look and see like, okay, what recipes are in here that, I can just go to the store and get a couple things. And, I try to look for recipes that require some of the same ingredients so that I can just like buy a bunch of stuff and cook like 3 meals out of it. And so when we're thinking about the long-term value and relevance of content, what is going to make someone save a piece of content? Is it a recipe? Is it an infographic? Is it some sort of tutorial or DIY that people can take and save? Is it going to be, I always think about I always forget the name that I'm subscribed, the fur podcast, the guys that have the food store.
Oh, fangs and fur.
Fangs and Fur,
Yeah.
yes. So using them as an example,
Yeah.
could it be like, the top like dog foods or something like that people will be like, oh yeah, let me save that. So next time I go to the store, I can look at this, or like, ingredients to look for in pet food that may be dangerous. Can you create a list that people want to save? So And a lot of people are doing more of that, like creating folders and saving content. I mean, I save like hair tutorials, cooking, workouts that I'll probably never do, all types of
You're
things.
manifesting it out.
Yes, eventually it'll happen. But yeah, just creating all these folders of saved content. So as you're creating content, think about what would make someone save this for a later day? Like what kind of information can you give that maybe someone wouldn't comment right now, but maybe they'd save it, which also builds towards that the previous engagements per followers. And also with Instagram, if they're seeing a lot of people share a piece of content or save it, that exposes you to reach potentially more people. So the three of these things, reach, engagement per followers, and saves, kind of go hand in hand when you're thinking about creating content. The more you do one of them, it can help in the other areas too.
Gotcha. Is there a hierarchy for engagements that maybe this does better than in regards to what
Mhm.
Instagram likes?
Yeah, I mean, they'll never tell us that,
Okay. Okay.
but I believe that it's definitely going to be the likes.
Okay. Gotcha.
I feel like that, is truly the core of Instagram is the likes. And now that a lot of people are opting into hiding them, I've noticed that even if you hide your likes, people can see your shares and see how many people, shared a post or sent it to another person. So maybe that's going to be second best. I would maybe think between shares and comments that would probably be a good number two. Yeah, but I still think likes are the number one thing for Instagram. They're looking for the likes, even if they're hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. Because of the 12 metrics, which we only talked about three, those
Yeah.
three play together very well.
Yeah.
12, I can imagine be a little bit overwhelming. He's like, okay,
Yeah.
how can I do? But if you do it, I can see if you do it properly, and this is where
Mhm.
talking to you for strategy would be the best for any listener, is
Mhm.
that, okay, pick three, pick four. How do we make those four work
Yeah.
together that
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're getting 4 for 1 or 3 for 1
Yeah. Mhm.
scenario? I think podcasters are in a very unique situation that it can work for them. It can
Yeah,
work
for
for them.
sure.
Yeah.
And just remembering that the podcast is the content for social. And so thinking about what sound bites, can you pull that will maybe cause a little drama. Maybe people, it might be a hot take
Right.
that could reach more people, that can get some engagement, that could get people to save and be like, oh yeah, I have to go listen to. I mean, so many times I'll see a clip and I'm like, okay, let me just save this because I need full context. I need to see the whole episode before I can like form an opinion. So think
Right.
about that too, what clips can you pull as you're already editing the audio anyway? Can you just make a timestamp like, between this time there was a really good conversation. So I'm gonna remember when I'm editing to go back and see what I can pull from that for content. And I think, that's just a good rule of thumb with anything you're trying to implement, especially if you're fairly new to social media marketing and Instagram marketing, is to start with a couple of things at a time. I mean, so many people are going to give you, there's probably a list of like 50 things out there. And, you have to just figure out what's best for you. Maybe you do care more about followers than reach or vice versa. Whatever
Right.
that is,
Yeah.
find that thing and really work it until you feel comfortable and like, okay, I got this. I'm good at this. So let me add another layer to it.
Right. Exactly. I was thinking that too, just kind of attack that way, you're doing it properly, or if it's just if you're if it just isn't going to work, tweak it or go to another one. And then maybe that'll
Exactly.
affect all the other ones. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
If a listener wants to get a hold of you for some strategy to, really break this down, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, www.tjecommunications.com. Right there on the homepage, there's a button that allows you to schedule a free consultation. I do free consultations, even, whether it's talking through ideas or if you want to talk about what it looks like to work with me, regardless, it's free. So definitely head over there and, get a free conversation and we can talk about your Instagram or social media goals.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll do the same thing for your podcast too. Go to mypodcastguy.com. And, it's not just about the podcast, it's about what you do around it as well, too. So if there's some social media piece to it that you contact me first and we need to talk about some social media, we'll bring Tanisha in on it as well down the road, in regards to, fine lining what you need to help with. But yeah, that's great. Thanks for joining me again today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.